Now, I want to make it clear that everyone's saying it's like the best featherweight fight ever. I don't think so.
No.
Because the best fight means it's both sides. It was mainly one-sided.
Yes.
There was 2 submission attempts right in the third round.
Great submission attempts, by the way. I was surprised.
He's very good, but when you start sweating, like Chael Sonnen always makes a really good, and this applies for Nick Diaz as well. These jiu-jitsu players, they fall in love with their hands, and then they think that they can just submit people off their back.
Yeah.
And Chael makes it really clear. Like, I'm a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. And I'm telling you right now, the elite don't get submitted off their back.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Someone doesn't submit you off their back.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. It will happen, further down, and maybe like it's different when it's like a standing guillotine and then you come to your back, because that's a bit different. Someone goes for a double leg takedown, they fuck it up, they go on the wrong side, they're gassed. Goes for a guillotine attempt, it's tight. It's like when you're talking about Brian Ortega versus Cub Swanson.
Oh yeah.
Sunk it in, was standing, and then just hooked his legs around, and it's done. It's done.
There's a very, very small chance they happen, but they're incredibly rare.
There's a reason why there's a lot of those submissions are a lot easier to get in the gi.
Yeah.
Because you're also like, that can absorb a lot of moisture. It's not even no gi, you're just wearing shorts.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be so slippery by the third round, especially when the output of a featherweight fight, it's very high. It's like, I'm not going to lie, those submission attempts, I bet you they were really tight.
Yeah.
I bet you, like, because it looked like Volkanovski's little shaved head was going to change a few colours, right?
Yeah.
But he's going to slide out because it's the third round by then.
Well, one thing I got to admit that both fighters had phenomenal grapplers in their camp. We had one of the Gracies in Brian Ortega's. He was probably smiling his ass off, and then across the room we had the tremendous Craig Jones. Shout out to Craig Jones. He's probably smiling his ass off when he saw Volkanovski get out of those chokes. There was even one point which I absolutely loved when I think it was what's his name? Ortega had him in a DAS, and then Volkanovski just put up his hand straight away. He's like, I'm all good.
He was fine. Fine. Yeah. It's
I have no idea.
He did well.
Yeah, I have no idea how he escaped those attempts as well. Like, when he was in that guillotine, the entire bar that we were in basically just like shit themselves, like feel the tension in the room.
Yeah.
And then Volkanovski was flailing his legs on the ground, like desperate, trying to pop up his hips. And I honestly, I thought that was it right then and there. And then he got in a triangle.
Triangle looked pretty tight as well.
Yeah, triangles are ridiculously hard to get out of, especially when you're trying to, because you're basically trying to overpower someone's legs,
which are one of the strongest muscle groups they've got.
Yeah,
it's very hard for you then trying to peel away from that. Yeah, it's very difficult from there on. But because Brian had also absorbed a lot of damage too then, and had poured his gas tank out already, there was a little bit probably less squeeze than there was. There probably would be in like a submission grappling match.
Yeah.
But Volk did so well. Honestly, like the amount of output, he almost did double the amount of strikes as Ortega.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I must give credit to Ortega that the dude's tough. And he's very durable, and he's definitely like one of those Mexican warriors, and his striking has got a lot better since his fight with Max Holloway. Because Max Holloway was even trolling him a little bit. In those later rounds, he actually picked up Ortega's hands to show him how to strike. Yeah. And then fucking hit him with a 1-2. And then you saw him disappear for a little bit, came back against I was about to say Zabit, it's not Zabit, the Korean Zombie, right? And you're starting to see a little bit of an evolution of Brian Ortega's game after that 2-year absence. But I just didn't think it was that big a difference. Not enough evolution for you to beat. Like, the people that Volkanovski's actually beaten is very high level. Yeah. Like, he's beat Chad, who's fought for so many title contentions. Yeah. He's very good. Yeah. And then he's got Holloway twice. Yeah. And he's got Jose Aldo.
Yeah. And not even that, but like, if he gets Holloway twice when Ortega couldn't get him the first time, that kind of shows like how many levels that Volkanovski is above the featherweight game. And I honestly believe right now he's on his way to becoming probably one of the best featherweight champs of all time.
I think so.
He's on his way. He's also on his way to proving while he's one of the pound kings, because he's on a streak. Right, he's on a very, very hot streak right now. Above him is Kamaru Usman and Amanda Nunes. And Amanda Nunes is very, very active, and Kamaru Usman as well, who's very, very active as well. So it's good because featherweight division. If you look at the divisions, featherweight is considered one of the top 3. Now, there's debate amongst which division is best.
They move around a little.
Yeah, it's around there in the top 3 in terms of talent. There's so much talent right now in the featherweight division, and that's why I believe for his time, someone like Volkanovski, he's proving himself to being one of the greats. And what we saw today was just a further explanation of how well he handled it. You said to me at round 4 or round 5, the dude's not even breathing heavy.
No.
He's got that
crazy
next level gas tank. He was controlling on those leg kicks. He had his submission escapes now down. His strikes were now down, and not even that. I mean, like by the end of it, like poor Ortega's face looks like he got hit by a train.
Yeah, they often, like, those Mexican warriors, they often wear the damage but don't show it in their performance and things like that. They just keep walking forward like a zombie. I mean, with Volk, like, where do you go from here? Where do you go from here after beating Ortega? Because, let's be real, he dominated him. He dominated them. Where do you go from here? Because now Max, during the broadcast, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez had been confirmed, and that was official that was going to happen. So most likely, Yair Rodriguez versus Max Holloway, that's going to be the next title contender. So we're most likely just going to see Holloway win that fight, right? As he's been a bit more active. Rodriguez is probably not on the same level as Holloway. So we're most likely going to see Volkanovski versus Holloway 3.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that will kind of end the debate. Because if you may not agree with how the second fight was scored. I think it was incredibly close, and it could have gone either way, right? But if we get a third fight, that kind of just settles it. Whoever wins the third one, that means they are the better featherweight champion. Yeah. And for a third fight over Max Holloway, if he gets a win over him, I think that confirms that he's one of the best featherweight champions out there. Yeah. Jose has paved a long road since he was on there. I think, when did he win the featherweight championship? He was 25 or something stupid? Yeah. So, I mean, Aldo's paved a big path, quite high limits for the featherweight division as a champion. So, Volkanovski really has to put on a great performance against Holloway again to put his name out there. But I hope he gets a little bit more respect, because that's what they were saying in the broadcast. Like, can he finally get a bit of respect? Because I think a lot of people just thought of him as the guy that may or may not have beat Holloway. And then, he had the issues with COVID and things like that. And
he definitely battled a lot of adversity to get to where he is.
A lot.
And we've got to definitely, when he says about respect on his name, but the way that he handled his post-fight interview was phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like, he was calling out to all Australia, saying, "I did that for you guys." It was really sweet. Honestly, I hope, and he's done so much for the UFC sport as well. He revived the tough brand. The Ultimate Fighter. He put on a, brilliant season. I've got to also admit too, even though he put on a good performance throughout the season, I kind of feel like the reason why it was so funny was because of Ortega, and he was playing all those pranks.
And things like that? Yeah.
Come on, that's the real reason why we watched the show. I just feel like he's just got a great team around him. To have Craig Jones as well in your camp, improve his game, and I kind of feel like he can attribute a lot of his grappling abilities to him now, and it's just.
Then there's Chris Eubank, Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene Barryman.
Yeah.
And Joe Lopez and Craig Jones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good, like, teachers there. for him to be guided on this path. So
Yeah.
I mean, fair play to Volko. I thought he did really fucking well. I thought he's just put a beating on Ortega.
Yeah.
And he never lifted the gas. Honestly, there was points where he just came at a submission attempt. And yes, Ortega's probably screaming for oxygen because he just tried to squeeze the life out of him.
Yeah.
But Volk is obviously on the tail end of like having difficulty breathing, and he doesn't let up.
Yeah.
And no matter what position he was, if he was in full guard, he would just keep raining down, posture up, make space, elbow. Some of those elbows we were like, fuck.
Yeah.
How is Ortega taking that? And he just took him on the chin.
Yeah.
Great fight. Probably not best featherweight fight.
No. Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5. I'll give him that.
Just because it was a bit one-sided. I think it was just Ortega taking a lot of punishment.
Yeah, and not even that, but on the scorecards as well, there was a big gap on some of the scorecards.
Yeah, I think someone did a 49-46, which meant they thought Ortega won 2 of those rounds.
Yeah.
And then it was all the rest of them was
50-44 or something like that.
50-45, I think
Yeah.
it was. I think one of them might have been 50-44.
Yeah.
But that assumes that it's a 10-9 or 10-8 for
Yeah.
at least a couple of those rounds. So, yeah, Volk did so well. What I would like to see is Holloway 3. I'd love to see that because that's really showing the best of featherweight division.
That's kind of what everyone's really counting on. I don't feel like we're going to see that at all soon. I feel like it's going to be something to focus on for next year. I don't see. There's only a few months left of the year. I don't see Volkanovski fighting anytime soon. I see him fighting in the second quarter of the year, though, of next year.
Yeah, I'd really like to see Giga fight Volkanovski as well.
Yeah,
Giga Chikadze. Yeah, I'd love to see that fight.
That would be great because Chikadze's then the next rising star. You know, we got Yanez as well, who's rising as well, and then it's just. Featherweight's a hot spot right now.
I'm so sad Zabit doesn't fight anymore.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's because you know how everyone said that Zabit always had he had cardio issues and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was because he's actually got a respiratory problem.
It's kind of sad because we always talked about in the early days of this podcast how much we loved him as well. We called him the dark horse of the division for a while, and Zabit hasn't fought since how long?
2018.
There you go.
Something like that, yeah.
When you spend that long out as well, especially with all these physical problems, it's harsh, man. It's harsh. It's a cruel world.
He's around the sport. I believe his brother is in Bellator or something like that. So he's around the sport and he's still coaching and training. But I don't know how. He's not retired, which is weird.
Yeah.
There was said that he might retire, but he hasn't announced it.
Yeah,
and
he's probably on the ropes.
He's probably on the ropes, and it's sad because I thought he would. If there's anyone to beat Volkanovski, stylistically, I think it's the beat.
Yeah.
And that's why I just love to see that fight because you want to see the best fight the best.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's sad. But hopefully we'll get some good news about Zabit fighting again in the future, maybe 2022, something like that. But we'll have to see. I know Shevchenko, she looked like her performances in general are pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
But she smashed Lauren Murphy. A little. I thought.
Was there any doubt?
Well, there was no doubt because when I was looking on just to have a look at the betting, it was $1.08 on Valentina, a couple of days ago, and then the day of today I checked it again. It was $1.04, and I think it was $8.50.
$8.50.
on Lauren Murphy. Yeah. So,
oh my god!
So 8.5 times. Whatever you put on Murphy to just a win, not by TKO, not by decision,
just a win,
just a win.
Oh my!
So most likely, if it was by TKO or submission or decision or things like that, it would probably rise to maybe 9 or 10. So yeah, it's crazy that you get tenfold your money, and it just goes to show how heavy a favorite the Valentina is now. No one expects any opposition, and they expect. You and me expected a round 1 or 2 TKO. And the main reason why I thought that was because Valentina is very good on the feet. She's very good on the ground. If she really needs to do some ground and pound, she can. But the thing with Lauren Murphy is she's a grinder. She just goes through and she's a bit of a brawler. She takes a few to give a few. Mm-hmm. But she has a negative strike ratio. So she takes a lot more hits than she actually gives out. And she tends to accumulate a lot of damage. And if you've got like a negative strike ratio, then it's not the best indicator if you're going against someone that's a very good striker in the female division that actually carries a bit of power and they can knock you out. It doesn't carry over well. So it makes sense why the bettors were so, they're a formidable opponent like Valentina is going to be a huge betting favorite, and it made sense. The main thing for me was that I was really expecting a round 1 or 2 KO.
Yeah.
And we just saw it later in the 4th.
A positive that we can give to Murphy that she held on a lot longer than most fighters do with Shevchenko.
Yeah.
And there were moments where she was actually getting some decent shots in on Shevchenko. But really, there was just... We've talked about this last time. We talked about this many times before, actually. It's the same with Nunes. You're just throwing these women to the friggin' sharks. Whenever someone's going up against Shevchenko or Nunes, don't really expect them to come out the other way. I mean... No. It was the same with what they did with, what's her name, Jennifer Meyer. It's the same with what they did with Jessica Evil-White. It's the same with Megan Anderson. I remember when I watched UFC, when they do the, they do that count, they did like a weird countdown thing, and then they have Ron Perlman to narrate it. And then they were like, for Nunes, they had, she is the most dominant female fighter in the history of combat sports. A multiple-time champion, double divisions, and she's up against... And then all they could say for Megan Anderson was the killer giant from Australia. That's it. That's all they could say. So it's the same.
Not even the narrators are paying enough attention to actually be like, yeah. Yeah, she has height. Yeah, that might be something. Yeah.
That's it. They can all bring up.
I know. But that's the thing. When it comes to the female division, there's not as many
the talent pool's not big enough.
The talent pool's not big enough, and that's just simply because the sport hasn't been around long enough, especially for the female divisions, right? Shevchenko walked through Murphy.
Yeah,
she was that close of catching that spinning hook kick. That spinning hook kick was down. It was like quick. It was like millimeters off, and it was fast.
Yeah.
The thing is though, because she's very good at those kicks.
Yeah.
I know she landed a good spinning back kick. That was a nice kick, and then that spinning hook kick was so close off Lauren Murphy. There's no tells. That's what shows in a like Giga Chikadze. There's no tells. It just pops.
Yeah.
And there's no stuttering in the movement. I don't know where you go with this though. I don't know where this goes with Shevchenko because she said she'll fight anyone, but who do you give her? She's already fought Nunes twice.
And she doesn't want a trilogy with her. Well, Nunes doesn't want a trilogy.
No, probably not interested, right? No. Although it is probably the most challenging opponent she could ever fight.
Yeah.
What happens here with Shevchenko? Does she move up? Or does she just stay in the division where she's doing perfectly fine?
Well, it's not really much you can do. She's just too dominant. It's the problem. It's gonna be like that, and that's just the way. It's just the way it is, really. What I feel like would be quite interesting, though. I don't really think this is going to happen. But I would really like it if we saw Shevchenko go over to somewhere like One Championship and fought the kickboxers or the Muay Thai fighters over there.
But they'll never do that.
That would never happen.
The UFC will never let go of Valentina.
No, because it would make one look too good. You know what I mean?
To even entertain it.
Yeah.
The UFC won't do it. They won't entertain it at all.
Yeah. But I feel like I would definitely pay top dollar to see how Shevchenko goes up against the kickboxing talent over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too. It's a shame that they don't do the cross-promotional fights and things like that.
No.
Because I know that, similar to Holly Holm, she's done a lot of Muay Thai and kickboxing fights as well.
Ooh.
So I'd like to see how that would go as well.
I'll tell you who I would like Shevchenko to fight.
Holly Holm?
No. Not Holly Holm. I'm going to get so much hate for this, but the Special Forces soldier who transitioned to a female.
Oh,
you heard that story?
Yeah.
The Special Forces soldier transitioned to a female.
Yeah.
And then, what destroyed her, or her, I should say her now, her first MMA fight. Just throw her to Shevchenko, and then Shevchenko would just light her up.
I don't think they're going to get some newly transgender female to just chuck in. Because Valentina would KO that person as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got a feeling that Valentina would just like smash through.
She'd beat up dudes.
Yeah, I reckon she could.
She'd beat up dudes.
I reckon Shevchenko is definitely one of those women who.
Or is she 135?
Yeah.
She 135?
She's roughly around, you know.
She'd beat up a Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, I reckon.
I reckon Valentina would beat up Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, you reckon?
I reckon.
I wouldn't mind that. You know, what I mean, just
you wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind the intergender title.
They would never do it, but I actually think Valentina.
She could fuck up most men. I swear.
Yeah, most guys walking off the street. Yeah. She'd fuck them right up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beat the shit out of their legs.
But
I don't know where you go with Shevchenko with legitimate competition.
True.
I don't know where to go.
That's all in theory. That's just in my head.
Now,
anyway.
Talk about not very good competition. Diaz versus Lawler 2.
You predicted this, mate. You predicted
Well, there was the video, and even the UFC put it up on their Instagram later on, and because it was leaked, and then the UFC got ahead of it and then put it on their Instagram, and it was Nick shadowboxing, and like Nick's shadowboxing is a bit unorthodox. Like he's a good boxer, but it's like it's unorthodox type of striking.
Yeah.
And some of his shots are like he does them slow, then he speeds them up and things like that. But when he's doing the shadow boxing, it looked fucking terrible. It looked so bad. It looked really, really bad. And I went, sorry, Diaz Army, he's gonna fucking lose. And he's looked so bad.
You put up on our Instagram, which was hilarious. You put up saying, "I'm getting Evander Holyfield vibes from this."
Yeah, I was getting Evander Holyfield because to be fair, and I really wanted. I've tried not to bet on fights anymore because I'll get a bit addictive.
Did you bet on this
I didn't. I've stopped altogether. I need to hold on to my money rather than keep betting on stuff. Because most of the fights I'll bet on, I'll be correct, but I get a bit addictive with it. I start doing multis, and that's where I go wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'll get like 4 or 5 fights right, and then that one will fuck everything up, and I'll lose everything.
Mm.
So I don't want to do that anymore. But I did say Diaz was going to lose because it was giving me Evander Holyfield vibes. Evander Holyfield fighting 58 is a 58-year-old boxer who looked shocking. And the reason why Evander was actually out of boxing earlier on was the commission failed him.
Mm.
The commission failed him and said he was unfit to fight. So you reckon 12 years later, being absent from the sport, coming back, he's now 58, getting close to retired age, you know. Against what you thought he was going to get better with age?
Yeah.
You
Against the dude who's the most sauced up motherfucker.
Oh yeah, and it was back to TRT Vitor, and he was all on all the Brazilian supplements. And then when I was saying Diaz versus Lawler, I know from a few stories that Lawler he's continued a really strict strength and conditioning program.
Yeah.
He's always doing strength and conditioning. And you can see he's in good shape. He's never changed.
He's 38 now, isn't he?
And 39, I think.
Yeah.
39. But, and they're almost 40, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to expect them to be as they were in their prime. Diaz was removed for a long period of time. He could have came back after his suspension went through, but he didn't. He must have been very pissed off with the UFC. I get it, but his best days were already behind him. Came at 38. 38 at welterweight, which is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's not a good age for a welterweight fighter in MMA. It's too old.
Yeah.
You know? That's 38-year-olds don't succeed in MMA unless they're in the light heavyweight or heavyweight division. It just doesn't happen. And Lawler, look, he's not the same Lawler anymore, but at least he stayed active. Diaz wasn't. So timing's not going to be the same. And to be honest, Lawler's got a lot better in terms of his conditioning. He used to be one of those guys that was super reckless, especially in that first fight. That was, 17 years ago that they fought back in 2004. That's when they've had their first fight. And he was a lot more cautious. And he was doing a lot more rolling through with the punches, ducking and weaving underneath. If he got caught by Diaz, he would keep his hands up as high as he could and just roll with the punches, cover. Take up, if he was going to pitter-patter, he's going to pitter-patter.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Diaz started to put on a little bit more pressure, Lawler would explode and start digging in with these shots. He did very well. Lawler did... I would expect that whole fight would have progressed the same way it usually would.
I don't even get why they even put that thing 5 rounds. I'm like, you kidding me? You want to watch two nearly 40-year-old dudes slug it out for 5 rounds?
I don't know why they didn't, why they made it middleweight.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be welterweight, and Diaz just went, no, I don't want to cut weight. And they just went, yeah, okay.
He didn't even look like he wanted to be there. That was so weird. Like, I'm like, what is going on in his head?
He said he didn't want to be there.
He didn't. When did he say he didn't want to be there?
He had a ESPN interview with Brett Okamoto, and he said, I don't know why we made this fight. Why did the UFC make this fight? I've already beat this guy. Why have they made this fight? I don't want to fight Robbie. I don't care. And he was very disinterested. And then
he looked disinterested.
He was. Look, the conditioning was still there, the chin was still there, but maybe the mentality wasn't there. He wasn't that same gangster guy anymore. And when he got hit with those shots, and normally that guy would get right up right away and just keep walking forwards, and he just went, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when the fire died. So, to be honest, I don't actually see Nick Diaz doing another fight.
I don't see it happening.
I don't
see it happening either. But here's the other thing. It was nice to see Robbie Lawler get that revenge. Get that win back, because he's had a bit of a rough stint these past few years. You know, there was the situation he had with Ben Askren, which he lost. You know, he lost his title to Tyron Woodley a few years back, and then he had that horrible loss to Colby Covington, where Colby Covington just pieced him up for 3 rounds or 5.
That really fucks with your career as well.
Yeah, as well. And especially when Colby Covington broke the record for most significant strikes or something like that. And what was the other thing? And then I think he lost one more time as well after that as well. But I can't remember who it was too.
I'm forgetting about... after he lost to Tyron Woodley, it just fell off from there.
Deteriorated a little bit.
Deteriorated quite a fair bit from there.
But he took so much damage as well in those fights as well.
He often does. You know, you never actually hear about it, but Robbie is a really good wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good wrestler, right? You'll never see him take someone down.
Yeah.
Whenever you've seen Lawler take someone down, won't do it. Amazing wrestler. He's very similar to like a Justin Gaethje, or more correctly, Justin Gaethje is very similar to Robbie Lawler.
Mm-hmm.
Ruthless and violent, but he won't take you down, even though he's got a really good wrestling pedigree. They won't do it. So when you expect Diaz versus Lawler, like no one was expecting. Some people, what the UFC sold was nostalgia. They sold nostalgia to the old school UFC fans that kind of have been with them through years and years, and they were rewarding the fans, right? The ones that maybe they saw Nick Diaz versus Lawler won, and that's what got them into the UFC. And they've been a fan from the UFC since 2004 till 2021. And then they wanted to see this fight, and they did it for those fans. And now those same fans are also saying, hang on, these are not the same fighters I expected to see. Well, yeah, they're 38 and 39. They looked a bit slow.
There were moments where they were literally just touching each other, throw a big kick, touch each other.
Diaz, that's his style.
Yeah.
Lawler started to do that. I think in that 3rd round, Diaz would start to curl up and he would just pitter-patter. Lawler started to do a kind of Diaz's thing, pitter-patter. As soon as he saw an opening, boom, body shot. Those uppercuts by Lawler were really smooth, and those check right hooks were clean. You can't write that shit any better, because that check right hook, that check hook was what knocked him out in the first meeting of their fight back in 2004. Now, that's what sealed the deal with Diaz in the second. I'm very confused by Diaz just touching his nose and just going, that's probably broken. I'm not going to get up. He just didn't get up, and Herb asked, do you want to continue? And Diaz went, nah.
Yeah, not even that, but he was running a lot during the fight as well.
He was, which you don't usually see.
Yeah, it's just it was very It was just very one-sided. Even at the beginning, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? When he got in the cage, he wasn't paying attention. There was time to take his shirt off, and he was looking. He didn't say much. He was moving around very slowly. He tried to do a Masvidal at the start of the fight. Tried to throw a spinning wheel kick.
He tried. So he
just trying to end the fight
he
there.
He tried to do a step-up hook, spinning hook kick, and it looked terrible.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like when we saw Diego Sanchez try and do the Masvidal knee, and there was all those memes of like, "Hey mom, I want Jorge Masvidal. I want Jorge Masvidal. Oh no, sorry Timmy, we've got Jorge Masvidal at home."
Yeah.
And it's Diego Sanchez with his fucking big belly trying to go for a jumping flying knee. It's not the same thing. So it was so weird to see that because that's not Diaz's thing. Diaz sometimes does, the odd side kick and, the front kick up the middle. Maybe the odd leg kick, but he doesn't do anything else other than that. So it was very weird. What do you get from that?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
It put him in the worst position because then Robbie just swarmed him and fucking uppercutted him.
Yeah, the fight had a lot of punches. It was pretty much a boxing match and see whose chin was going to give out first because as soon as Nick hit the canvas, Robbie refused to play guard or go into his guard. He refused to play that ground game. He went, nope, stand up, and he just walked away. And then he turned around. He was like, oh, well, okay, that's the end,
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, it's just like, here's the other thing I need to ask you as well. Do you think that Robbie should I'm not saying he should retire, but do you think he's definitely come to the end? I do. Because I don't see him going in for it. He's 38, 39.
I see him fighting once more. And I think it's the perfect matchup.
Okay, I'm listening.
Welterweight, Donald Cerrone.
Ooh, that's not such a bad idea.
Because I know Donald, he's going to have one more fight left, and I know he wants to continue at 155. But if you only got one fight left, why bother? You're not going for a title run. Yeah. Your best days are behind you. Have a fucking amazing fight against Robbie Lawler. Two of the biggest, fucking baddest motherfuckers ever.
Yeah.
Like, those guys are BMFs.
Yeah.
Those guys are old school BMFs. So, Cowboy Cerrone versus Robbie Lawler, that's a fight you want to see. Mm-hmm. And then, win or lose, whatever happens, they both retire.
Why not?
That's the best way to do it.
I'll pay money for that.
That is the perfect retirement fight for either of them.
Lawler can go, live out his days, and Cowboy can ride off into the sunset.
Exactly, on his horse, yeah.
That'd be, yeah. Anyway, so, a heavyweight fight between Blades and Rosenstrike. What are your thoughts about that one? I was...
shit fight.
I was going to say it was a bit lackluster, but you just shit fight.
Shit fight. Blades tends to do that sometimes.
Yeah, he's not really. The problem is with Blades, he's not that. Problem is with Rosenstrike as well is that they're not very, very exciting fighters. Let's just be.
Rosenstrike can be an interesting fighter because
when he wants to be.
When he wants to be, he can be a bit gun shy afterwards. Like when you saw him versus Garn was pouring on him, and then Rosenstrike, when he knows he's outclassed, he curls up into a ball a little bit. Blades will strike with you as much as the most minimal amount that he needs to, and then he'll try and take you down. Mm-hmm. And then he'll try and smother you from there. What he'll do is he'll take you down, smother you, but he doesn't do a lot of significant strikes. He'll do tiny little hits, and it's just enough
to get points. And for the ref not to stand you up. It's just to smother. He doesn't go for submission attempts. He just does little pitter-patter stuff. And he can win the round as long as he has landed enough strikes to get points and that Rosenstrike doesn't put any submission attempts or anything like that up and he doesn't do anything significant. That's the only way Blades wins that because, yes, he got the takedown. Did Blades do any significant Did he do any significant advances after that? Did he go for a submission attempt? Did he try and knock the guy out? Did he try and just make damage? Or he didn't do any of those? Or he just smothered him on the ground? Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, Rosenstrike, that's his problem for not trying to get up.
Yeah.
Right? He was just trying to hold hold and try and make sure that there's no space for Blades to come up and go for elbows and things like that. But you're both part of the problem.
Yeah.
Blades is trying to smother and just put tiny bits of pressure on, and he's not really trying to look to create space. Rosenstrike thinks Blades is trying to create space so that he can get punched, or at least he wants to make sure there's no space, because that's the safest way to be. But he's not looking for an underhook. He's not trying to get up on one side and put himself in a risky scenario where maybe he could put his, back in a disadvantaged place, but he could then use that as an opening to get up, get to his feet, and do what he does best, kickbox. They're both part of the problem there. So for me, Rosenstrike, he didn't do enough. Didn't do enough volume. He's a real good kickboxer, but he can think a bit too much. Curtis Blades, the guy has power.
Yeah.
Like, that guy has power, and he's a real good wrestler, and his takedowns are very good. I understand this is bread and butter, but it doesn't work against the really big hitters like Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, because it works most of the time. It's a winning strategy. It works most of the time. It's not the most exciting, but fuck it, you win, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit boring, but because you're not doing any submission attempts, but he's only had 3 losses. And it's to 2 people. To Francis Ngannou twice and Derek Lewis once.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not...
It doesn't work against the real big hitters.
No. The most interesting part of the whole fight was when Rosenstrike hit Blades with a knee. That was it. That was kind of main. There was a few good strikes here and there. There was takedowns.
It's probably the only significant strike.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, with Rosenstrike, not shitting on him, but when I follow these MMA group chats, they always break down the fights, and that's where I get my knowledge from, get my news from. Someone put up this hilarious thing that Rosenstrike has a split personality between Rosenstrike and doesn't strike. That's what they call it. That's what they call him sometimes.
I think he just overthinks a bit.
But the thing is, both men, to sympathise with both of them are coming off pretty bad losses. We got Cyril Gane, who beat Rosenstrike, and we got Blades, who lost to Derek Lewis, which arguably he was winning up until Derek Lewis caught him. So both men, I would understand, were a little bit gun shy. And they were both once title contenders, but now they're kind of just like balancing out with each other. I was a little bit annoyed as well, because there were some fights in the prelims which I really thought should have been main card, and even though we're not going to go diving deep into them, I felt like I should have seen Merab. Jack, say his last name properly for me.
Merab Dvalishvili.
Yeah, I gotta ask you that because I want to fuck that up, because you know how
Georgian names are. First, Marlon Moraes.
That should have been a main event.
I think that should have taken the play. And to be honest, yeah, I get it when you sympathize for Blades and Rosenstrike, because like that, it just everyone just watched like Dan Hooker versus Nasrat. Then they watched Merab Dvalishvili versus Marlon Moraes. They saw these great fights, right?
And then you
got that as right before the co-main and main event. Look, and I understand that's why a lot of people were booing and things like that.
Yeah.
Even when they were doing the post-fight interview, a lot of people were booing.
Booing who?
Blades.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were booing Blades, yeah, and just because it wasn't super interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get your point. Like Merab Dvalishvili versus Marlon Moraes, that should have taken up that spot, or maybe the Dan Hooker fight against.
There you go.
That should have been it.
They should have replaced those two with the Andrade as well. Replace the Andrade with that as well, because first of all, when we came out, Jessica Andrade absolutely steamrolled through her opponent. It wasn't even close. She was so hesitant. Come on. Because Jessica Andrade is a former champion, I understand that, but then again, it's about bums in seats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not even that, but Jessica Andrade versus her opponents was a huge difference in the odds as well.
Oh, yeah, and you could see there was a massive difference in power as well.
And skill.
Like Cynthia's strikes, like, she was very much on the back foot.
Yeah.
Right, and she was only just getting her breath in, moving back, and she was scared. I always think of, like, when I Jessica Andrade, I just think, just tank.
Yeah.
She's just a tank. She just moves forward.
Terminator.
Gets a hit, keeps moving forward.
Yeah.
Moves off the line, a little bit of head movement, keeps going forward.
Solid
Just that,
man.
it's just that normal Muay Thai style where it's just brute strength.
Yeah.
And just breaking down her opponent. And that's what she did, like in those last final seconds of the first round. Pulled on the pressure and got the knockout. I think those ones are a bit more interesting. Like the Merab fight, that was fucking sick. Marlon did very well against Merab because that first round is always scary with Marlon because he's just like, he's muscles on muscles. It's crazy how shredded and strong that
Especially
guy is.
for a bantamweight.
For 135er, yeah, yeah, he looks like a 155er, to be fair.
Jacked
as fuck. He's like Krillin.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like, Krillin.
Nice. I felt a little bit sorry for poor Marlon, though, because Marlon fucking nearly had him in the first round.
I had him on Bambi legs for a good bit, yeah.
And he was chasing him, and then he put up his hands like, what are you doing, man? You know, like, Merab, you know, you kind of got a little bit lucky, though. You got away with that, you know.
It did, but it was less luck and more. When some fighters get rocked, they kind of put themselves in some situations where they're like they've been rocked, they're not thinking correctly, and then they put themselves in a situation where it's very hard to dig themselves out of. But he stayed composed. Like he was still okay. He was still conscious and ready. And even though he was on Bambi legs, he was still trying to make space, get away. When he had him up against the cage, he had a breather. He's like, right, I've collected myself. Takes down Marlon. He had 2 rounds of ground control time in that first round. Then in the second and third round, it was basically Marlon just surviving. Merab's a fucking beast. He does not stop.
No. He's definitely going to be...
Sorry, not third round, the second round.
Yeah.
The second round. Second round, it was just Marlon trying to survive.
Yeah.
Merab it is crazy how hard that guy must train. I found out that the reason why he's so conditioned is because it's mainly due to sparring. He will spar 100 rounds a week.
You're kidding.
100 rounds a week.
100 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, not even that, but how effective he is on the ground with his ground and pound. Like, as soon as he's got you on the ground, he's just going to start raining down shots. He's not going to let you breathe. He's not going to let you move. You know, he had him in the half guard, just kept pounding him. And then Mullen got over to his back and he just started flaying at him. It's just too good. Once you got you up against the cage, that's it. Game over.
The interesting thing for me was there were so many opportunities for a submission, like a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
Never went for it.
No. You wanted
there was a guillotine there as well. Didn't go for it.
Yeah.
He really wants that knockout.
Yeah.
He really wants that knockout.
Yeah. Anyway, pardon me. I'm starting to feel a bit weak. For those listening,
you just took your COVID jab. Didn't
I got
you?
my second COVID jab. I'm wearing a shirt right now that says COVID 1984.
Okay.
So it's the side effects are starting to kick in a little bit. I'm starting to feel a little bit weak and drowsy. Just holding on though. Anyway, Conor McGregor. Let's talk about it. What is going on?
He's trying very hard on one leg just to stay relevant. Yeah.
Fucking hell, it's pissing me off though.
The thing is, like, I love Conor. I love watching it. I love his character. I love the main thing I love about it is his fighting style and things like that. The way he conducts himself in the octagon. But damn, he's constantly one thing you would see after the Volkanovski versus Ortega fight was everyone was giving them both fighters praise. The only person being salty was Conor. Yeah. The only one. And
talking about how he's going to kick his head off, and it was in the first round, but then he changed his mind at the end of the fight. He's like, oh, not a bad fight.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up what it is.
Read it out to the people at home. This is because it's just Conor, man. He's just, what are you doing? Why?
Well, originally he said, this is tremendous, let's go. And that was before the main event. And
yeah.
He was, he was going to watch. He's already said openly he loves Nick Diaz and things like that, right? And he has his own history with Nate, and that whole trilogy and things like that, right? What he said was, oh, I've lost it. Oh, I'm back. All right. Conor said, oh, he's deleted it.
He deleted it.
Oh, that's not nice.
Oh, so for people listening.
That's not fun.
He said something along the lines of, so short, and I kick his head off like a rugby ball.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it. You cheeky bugger. He got rid of it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, so he deleted the comment. It was along the lines of, I'd knock out this Volkanovski fella, little short guy. I'd kick his head off like a rugby ball.
Yeah.
He's like a little fart. I wouldn't even call him a fart. I'm more like a shark.
Yeah.
And then he then says,
that was pretty accurate. I think that's how I remember it.
I think that was around what he said. He said, and then the one that he didn't delete was, not a bad fight. Congrats, Shartsy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
And then he says, great night of fights. Valentina, you're tremendous. Da-da.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just, he's just trying to stay relevant in this, after everything that's happened, after breaking his leg, after his loss. What? And not even that, but he's on a fucking Twitter, Instagram rampage lately. Like,
quite a lot, actually. Yeah.
Like, there was that day where he threw a pitch for a baseball game, and everyone gave him so much crap for it, and he said, nah, I had too much power. And then there was all these memes saying, I'm guessing a dolly is the only accurate thing he can throw these days.
Let's be real, though, okay? Conor McGregor,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
let's say that we're not going to say Conor McGregor back in that featherweight division, because I think that Conor McGregor back then would have killed anyone,
Yeah.
right? Conor McGregor now
Yeah.
at featherweight, let's say like before Dustin Poirier hadn't broken the leg, right? Him versus the Alex Volkanovski of today.
Oh,
Who do you think wins?
Volkanovski by miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Volkanovski by miles.
I think the Conor today is just not the same.
Not even that.
Really not the same. Volkanovski is just, he's fucking brutal.
Yeah, I don't even think the Conor today could beat Holloway today. That's what I think.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's just... well, the thing is with McGregor, one thing I could give him respect to is the fact that he's already back in training now. Apparently.
You could already see that he's doing rehab and things like that. He's doing a lot of... He's doing a lot of strength and conditioning and things like that, and that's great. You know, like, if you're just breaking your leg, don't stay stagnant. You don't want to... It looks like he's not getting, like, any form of muscle loss and things like that, right? Yeah. He's trying to make sure that he's not losing any muscle mass. He's trying to train as much as he can. He's already squatting weights and things like that. That's brilliant. I hope that he doesn't do what he did last time, and that is very involved with getting jacked. Like, he keeps on talking about getting jacked and muscular and strong and things like that. And you're becoming exactly what you said was wrong, was getting stiff and stiff like a board.
Yeah.
And inflexible and not as involved with movement anymore, because that's what happened last time. And he just got so involved in strength conditioning where it was getting a bit silly. Because I know he has McGregor fast and all that, and that is... So you've got to push that, because that's one of his revenue streams and things like that, right? But that's not the reason why he lost. He lost because he was outskilled. He didn't lose because he didn't have enough fucking glycogen.
No. He
didn't lose because he didn't have the cardio ability. Because I think he did.
He was doing all right.
But he was outskilled.
He was outskilled. Yeah. And now when he's just doing all these tweets, man, especially with everything that's going on, it's just... And I'm just like...
Yeah, but I get it. Like, you want to try and stay relevant. I get it.
But a good human being...
part of the business.
You're never going to get anything good out of going out of your way to make someone look really bad.
No.
Especially when that person's got a title and you don't.
It just makes you look a bit salty.
It does. It makes you look a little bit almost insecure in a way as well.
A little bit, yeah. Like, if you're really so good, why need to tell someone about it?
Yeah.
Why need to explain that? Yeah.
And calling someone who's literally one of the pound-for-pound greatest in the UFC right now, terrible. That just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, when we're speaking about, like, how the mighty can fall, like John Jones.
Yeah, okay, let's bring that up.
UFC Hall of Fame. He's there. He's at the front of the stage with GSP and things like that.
Are you intoxicated?
and we put up a reel on Instagram showing, like, he's saying, all right, well, actually, I'm going to get an upgrade in pay, which is what I wanted, but it's going to be based on pay-per-view, so I need to work really hard for those fights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some legally controversial stuff to build the fight. What does he do within 24 hours? he fucking illegally fucking tampers with a vehicle, gets done for domestic violence, and so I'll bring it up here. So, by the way, he's still in jail. At this moment in time, he's still in jail, apparently.
John Jones and Vegas go together like crackheads and chainsaws, man.
Oh, God.
Fucking it.
We'll talk about crackheads in a second. Actually.
Yeah, because... yeah, I like how everything's flowing so nicely today as well, you know. But John Jones is just... What were you even... Like, why? Like, you shouldn't be doing this, man, because you haven't been fighting for a while. You're supposed to be bumping up to heavyweight. You love to have a go. He loves to have a go at Israel Adesanya. And here's the other thing I've got to remember. With John Jones, he's got all this. He had all this fame. He had all this, like, everything was right there, right in front of him.
Nike deal.
Yeah, his biggest opponent at the end of the day is himself. He was the greatest of his time, but his biggest enemy was himself because...
So bad that's not even shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he probably hit someone with his vehicle. Yep, done that before.
Yeah, because not even that, but like... Well, no one really teaches you how to be famous, man. You know,
but he's been doing it for a fucking long time.
I know, and he's not getting any better at it either. And not even that, but he's been all these photos and videos of him in the gym all sauced up and all thick and chunky and
kind of just fat.
Yeah, and
he's put on muscle. I get it, but he's a bit fat.
Yeah, and now he's probably like all getting all these strength gains and all that sort of stuff and smashing it out. But he's just not. It's bad. It's making you look really bad, man, because when you do that, you're probably going into all this financial, all this legal trouble. No wonder you're asking for more money. You're trying to get more money because you're probably trying to pay off all the legal fees and all that sort of stuff. You know? Not even that, but this was after his last arrest where he was caught for a DUI or something like that.
Yeah, he's had a lot. He's had DUIs. He's popped for steroids. He's popped for cocaine. He's been through the ringer quite a fair bit.
Yeah,
and he's done street racing. He hit a pregnant lady with his car. What's with him with fucking cars, actually? Because he after an incident at Caesar's Palace, he was charged with domestic battery and damaging a vehicle. What
did he do to the vehicle?
Probably fucking hit it. Or he was probably intoxicated. He probably might have kicked something. It could have been anything. He could have had a car and hit someone with the car, or he could have been intoxicated and punched the guy that was coming out of a vehicle and then and maybe kicked the vehicle or something like that. Yeah. Could be fucking... I love how vague they make it and make us guess. But John Jones, he'll still be in jail. As all these charges accumulate, it increases your bail. Like there's like 8,000 USD for his initial bail. I mean, to be fair, you could probably pay for that if you really wanted.
I'm pretty sure he should just lose his license altogether.
I think it was Chael that said something, and he said, "John, why do you keep getting issues with cars? Yeah. You can pay to have a chauffeur.
Yeah,
you don't need to.
Yeah.
Also, he's got all the money in the world. Call an Uber, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah, you're right. It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and I don't understand how within 24 hours of saying he's a new man, that he literally proves to the world he's not.
Vegas to him's like cocaine, you know.
Well, let's talk about cokeheads now. Oscar De La Hoya, him and Dana White had a bit of a Twitter spat.
You know, there was a time where those guys actually used to be friends.
I didn't know that they used to be friends. And Dana's been in the boxing scene. That's where he came from.
Yeah.
Right? And then as he's had issues with Oscar because they've talked about fighter pay. Oscar said a few lies about Dana in terms of fighter pay. And then Oscar has this fight with Vitor Belfort, and then that gets cancelled.
Oh, yeah, due to COVID.
COVID.
We say with apostrophes.
Might have just, and we'll talk about Aljo as well, but he might have taken a card out of Aljo's book. So Oscar puts out, "Hey Alex Volkanovski, you just won a brutal battle for the UFC and made 1/20th of what you're worth. Dana White, have some fucking respect for yourself and these fighters and pay these warriors what they deserve."
I think the pay for the fights haven't even been released yet.
No, they haven't, so it doesn't make any sense. Dana White, shut the fuck up, you crackhead, faking that you had COVID and robbing me of watching you get knocked the fuck out by Vitor Belfort. You should win an Academy Award for your hospital performance.
Ooh, good comeback.
I cannot imagine that Oscar will make anything intelligent as a reply.
He probably would have went tweet, 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 tweet.
That's probably what that came. He's probably drunk out of his mind. Look, Oscar just he looks like a really aged combatant.
Yeah, he's aging really badly as well.
I don't know who would do better, Oscar De La Hoya or Evander Holyfield.
Why don't we just let him and Dana fight each other in a boxing match now that anything's possible?
Well, Dana White was supposed to fight Tito Ortiz a long time ago.
Yeah, he was actually preparing really well for it as well.
Oh yeah, he weighed in and everything. Tito pulled out. And
Yeah,
he does all fights. But that's I don't know why I brought it up, but it's just funny. 'Cause it's just funny that Oscar's still trying to make himself relevant as well through Twitter and things like that. I don't know where Oscar's coming from because he's saying, "Oh, you made a 20th." Where does that come from? There's been no numbers. You don't know anything of what they're being paid. So, what? It's a silly comment to make, and it's not very intelligent because Dana White can quite easily say, "You're a fuckwit."
Yeah,
and we all know you were faking it, trying to get out of the fight, or you conveniently got COVID right before your fight. Oh yeah. It doesn't make much sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
It's very, very weird. I mean, I also wanted to talk about what you did as you brought it up. Aljamain Sterling, he's pulled out of his fight against Petr Yan. Petr Yan, you mentioned that he actually called it a long time ago.
Yeah.
He said, "I bet you he's not fucking fighting in October. I bet you he pulls out," and he fucking did.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the neck surgery that he had to go through. Like, did he have to have like a disc fused or something like that?
I don't think it's a disc fusion. It's when they put another disc in there. So I think it's. I need to check what it was. I thought it was similar to what Bisping got. Bisping had a fucked cervical vertebrae, and so what they do is they make an incision through your throat.
Yeah.
And then move everything to the side for a sec, so that they can then put in a artificial vertebral disc in there. And then they move everything back and then sew it all up. And I think that's what he's had because apparently, due to wrestling, because Aljamain's quite a good wrestler, it's quite easy, it's quite normal for wrestlers that have transitioned to MMA and things like that to get their neck fused. Tito Ortiz, Yoel Romero, things like that. They all get their neck fused and things like that, either in the lower or the upper cervical spine, right? And then, fair enough. Aljo should probably take quite a bit of time off, right? But he's stalling the competition in terms of like who's going to be next in line for the belt. So what they're going to do is they're not going to strip Aljo, which is what they should do actually.
Yeah.
They're making an interim title.
Yeah.
So it's most like, and I know Sean O'Malley said, "Yeah, I won that fight." Sean's not getting that fight. He's not even ranked. It's going to be Petr Yan versus either Corey Sandhagen or TJ Dillashaw. Really, it should be TJ versus Petr Yan. Since he beat Corey Sandhagen.
Whoa, but then to counter that argument, people believe that Corey Sandhagen won.
And TJ is also just came out of surgery as
There
well.
There we go.
So Corey may skip the line.
Yeah.
Since they also want to get this bantamweight division moving a little bit more. And
also, Corey Sandhagen's lost to Aljo, but since then he's come a long way.
He has come a long way.
So, Petr Yan has a phenomenal striking style, he trains at Tiger Muay Thai. And so does Corey Sandhagen. So Corey Sandhagen's got some tricks up his sleeve, man. Mm-hmm. And, he's a pretty solid grappler as well. So I like to see how that goes on the ground. That's why I feel like maybe Corey Sandhagen versus, Petr Yan's the way to go, but then I kind of can't help but feel sorry for Yan because when I look back at Aljo versus Yan, I felt like they should have just vacated the title.
I thought that Petr Yan had violated the rules, but that didn't mean by violating the rules that the other person should be awarded the belt.
Exactly.
I think it should have been a violation in that way, a no decision or no contest.
Yeah. Because knees to the downed opponent is pretty rough. It's a strange rule.
But it's happened before. Anthony Smith versus John Jones.
Yeah, Gegard Mousasi versus Chris Weidman. Happened that before. But thing is, knees to a downed opponent's allowed in one championship as well. So,
and it's just, I don't see that coming to the UFC ever.
No.
But I do think that if it is in the rules that you can't do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right? And especially from a really good striker from Peter Yan, I get it. Was it maybe played up? Could have been.
Yeah.
Do I think it was fully fake? No.
Yeah.
But does that mean that person should be awarded the belt? No. I think you haven't done anything to win it.
Not even that, but the way that he responded to it after he got out of the octagon wasn't that great. You know, you see him partying with the belt and posing with the belt. And
now he plays up to it a little bit. He leans into it too much. And he leans into the paper champion vibes because it infuriates a lot of people where he brings the belt everywhere.
Yeah.
And it infuriates a lot of people that, like, why are you calling yourself the champion? But he's doing it on purpose. Does it make you a likable guy? No. Does he really care if he's a likable guy? Probably not. But what should happen objectively is that Aljo, look, if they don't want to strip him, fine. Don't strip him.
Yeah.
Because it also kind of makes them admit that they made a mistake.
Well, it's the thing they did to Tony Ferguson.
They did.
Which was a bit unfair, though.
A bit unfair, but...
Because he won that belt fair and square, though.
Right. But I think it might have the circumstances to be stripped. But if they probably don't want to strip him because they also admit it. It's also the UFC admitting they made a mistake.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
The UFC does everything right. That's what they want to make out. So I think Peter Yan versus TJ or Corey Sandhagen's the way to go. And that's what they're going to do. So they're going to do interim championship. Most likely it's going to happen in October or November. Yeah. So I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah.
I know we've got... Well, obviously we don't have the time today, but we'll definitely give you a breakdown next week. Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker is next week.
Ooh.
That's an interesting fight. Thiago Santos, he's on the tail end of his career. He really needs to win.
So does Johnny Walker, because Johnny Walker was considered the uprising star for a while.
You got Kevin Holland versus Carl Dakauskas. So Carl Dakauskas, he's a terrific fighter as well. His brother Chris Dakauskas just got a big win today. Yeah. And Kevin Holland, he hasn't been doing well. I think he's on a 2-fight losing streak now.
Yeah, is that a rough one?
Really needs to. Hopefully he's improved his wrestling, his takedown defense. You get Alex Oliveira versus Nico Price. That's an interesting fight as well.
Looking forward to that one because Nico Price is one definitely to look at, especially Oliveira. Yeah,
and you got a few other ones out there as well, but those are the main ones you want to look out for. So we'll give you a breakdown next week and let you guys know. But thank you for listening. Also, we've got a discount code, LSP, for 10% off on all HempCann Lab products. So if you're interested in CBD oil, CBD gummies, things like that to enhance and improve your recovery and things like that, go check them out. Check on the description below. Click on the link and use LSP for 10% off all their products.
Don't forget to go on to Buy Me a Coffee, www.buymeacoffee.com/Last Set Podcast if you would like to donate at all to the podcast. And also, guys, check out all our past episodes. We've got plenty of episodes now with fighters, nutritionists, personal trainers, online fitness marketers, doctors. We've got a wide range of guests right now, commentators, presenters. You know, we are mainly a fight podcast, but we do like to branch out to all different forms of professions, have a chat to them. If you would like to come on the podcast, just hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. Don't forget to like, subscribe, guys. We appreciate every little bit of support.